Hello and welcome to Inking on the Fly with me, Amy Jasper. I am here to share with you a card that I created for my technique class. This is a rectangle stitched window card and I get to show you how to make it. I'm pretty excited about it. I think it turned out really nicely. It features some various dies, as well as the window sheet in there and the Rainbow Glimmer Paper from Stampin Up. So there's lots of fun things on this one. So let's get started. We've got, I just wanted to show that the Art Gallery stamp set is the stamp set that I'm using, but I'm really just using one of the sentiments. And then the Floral Gallery dies, of the dies, I'm just using the Just Want to Say words. And we have the Forever Flourishing dies. So I've used the larger leaf dies from that. And then of course the stitched rectangle dies as well. So if you were part of my monthly class, you would have received a packet with all of the supplies pre-cut just for you. So you can get those supplies ready, and if you don't have a class kit, then I will give you the measurements as we go, and I will also write them in the description as well. Okay, so we have a piece of basic white cardstock. This is 8.5 by 5.5 and scored at 4 1/4 for your standard card. And I do have a little bit of something on there. I'm not sure what that is, so that's okay. That's going to then go, if it goes on the front, yeah, it'll just go on the front because it'll get covered up. Yay! So we can just start by attaching the basic gray piece of cardstock. This one measures 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. I'm just going to use my handy dandy Tombow liquid glue. Because it's quick and easy, and if I don't get it on straight, I can quickly shift it straight, which is a blessing for me, for sure. And then we have the next layer, which is the basic white, new color name, so basic white cardstock. This one measures 5 inches by 3 3/4 inch. So that one's just directly on, creating a lovely frame. And then we can set that aside and grab the gray granite piece. And if I die cut this for you ahead of time, I'm going to apologize in advance because it's very hard to get them perfectly straight. This piece looks pretty good. If you lay your piece on grid paper, it'll be easier to see what's crooked and what's straight. So I think what's happening here, oh, mine's not actually, it's pretty good. What's happening on mine though is that it looks like, I don't know, this end looks a little crooked, this end. So if I tilted it a bit, maybe it would be better, but I think it's close enough. But if you find that yours is a little crooked, you might just want to trim it in your paper trimmer to make sure that your rectangle cutout is actually straight. So, but I think mine is pretty good, so I'm going to go with what I've got. And then I can pull out my 3 little dies. These are cut from the Rainbow Glimmer Paper. So you can see that it goes from the green through the blues and into the purples. The Rainbow Glimmer Paper comes in 12 by 12. And it looks like this. So if you got a class pack, you may have received this side of the color spectrum and have the yellow into the purples for your card. Or you might have the same as me, which is the green into the purples. So I basically cut at the 6-inch mark and then die cut a 3-inch section to get my 3 leaves cut. So I'm going to take my stitched rectangle piece and flip it over so that I can see the back side, so you can tell which side is the nicely stitched side, right? So I want to see the back side right now because we're going to attach our leaf die cuts to the back. And I find that the easiest way to do this is to use my tear and tape. And I just place my tear and tape around the window, the rectangle window, and you can just put it right close to the edge of the stitching. You could probably cover the stitching, but you don't need to. You really just want to have the tear and tape available so that it's really quick and easy to attach our die cuts to the back of this piece. This way I don't have to do individual bits of glue on the die cuts. I can just lay them down when it's in the position that I like. And it'll be quick. And quick is good, right? Especially if you've already die cut all of these things. It takes time to do all this die cutting. So we want the rest of the card to be a little quicker because we did a lot of die cutting. Okay, so then I can peel off my backing. And then it will be ready for me to put on my pieces. So you can kind of get an idea of where you want the pieces. If you wanted to do that, maybe it would have been good to do that before we peeled off the backings. But because I've done this before, I kind of know what I want to be doing. But I'm gonna start by ripping up this one. It's pretty big. I could lay it on here and take up a lot of space, but I'm gonna use it in chunks. So I'm just gonna rip off that little piece there, and then I can tear these apart. And that just gives me some things to work with. And I can either try to place these in their same gradient order, so from the green through to the blues and into the purples, or I can just put them however, whatever floats my boat, and I can just do it that way. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm just going to do it wherever, all willy-nilly, and see what happens. So I've got that one. It's nice. I find it's nice to have edges of leaves showing instead of having the piece go all the way across. It's nice to have a little bit of to show the edge of the leaves. At least I like that. I'm going to rip this one apart as well, because it will give me some more options for how do I want that one. So I'm looking at the back side. I don't know what this is going to look like when I flip it over. I'm going to put a bit of this purple up here. Hopefully this will look nice. We'll see. A little bit of this green one poking out the end there, and then I'll finish off with some of the green up top. I don't need this whole thing. And I can trim off those edges that are poking out the side, because clearly nobody wants that. And then we can flip it over and see what happens. Ooh, hey, you know what? That looks pretty good. I'm down with that. That's awesome. Okay. So we have a lot of sticky tear and tape exposed right now, which is not going to work for me. So I am going to use that piece of window sheet. This is measures 2.5 by 4.5, just a piece of window sheet, and it's got a bit of stuff, a few things kind of stuck to it, so I'm just going to dust that off on my shirt. Sometimes static can make things stick to there, so there we go, that's cleaner. You don't want to rub too much on your window sheet because it will scratch it. It is just acetate. So then I can just lay that on top of all those sticky bits that are still remaining. All that exposed tear and tape is now working for me to attach my window sheet. And that window sheet not only covers that up, but it also helps hold up these leaves so they're not droopy in the middle. They're actually going to stay lifted off of my card base. Pretty simple and pretty cute, I think. So then this piece is going to have dimensionals on the back here. I feel like that backing there it is, didn't quite come off. So I'm pretty liberal when I use my mini dimensionals because I can be. I feel like I don't have to be as frugal because I get so many of these mini dimensionals in a pack. And that way I can get a little more even coverage with my lift off of my card. Of course, that means more backings to peel off, but it's a price to pay. I can do that. I can pay that price. And then that piece can attach to my card base. Nice and centered. I find to center things, it's always easier if you can stand up over top of your project. Oh, it's so pretty already. Look at that. Beautiful. Okay, now we need some words. So I have die cut my words using the what is it called again? The Floral Gallery dies. So I've used the words from the Floral Gallery dies, and I put black cardstock onto a sheet of the Foam Adhesive Sheets, a piece of the Foam Adhesive Sheets. So to do that, you peel off the one backing side to attach your black paper or whatever paper you're using, and then you can run it through your die cutting machine. And now once it's cut, I can take my words out and they are cut all the way through. They can be a bit fussy to peel out, but with patience, it is definitely worthwhile. I love how this makes your sentiments have more, they're just, yeah, more dimension. Not so flat on your card, but yeah, it's a bit tricky to pull out. And I think I didn't run mine through as well as I could have. There we go. And save the dot for the J. And I do have a little bit of the foam. It looks like it didn't cut through all the way on those foam bits, so I'm just going to trim those before I put it on my card. And next time I run this through, I'll run it through an extra time, or possibly I might need to use a piece of cardstock in my machine to get a little bit extra pressure. It won't need much, just a little bit. And the bottom of my, the bottom of my J, I need to pop that out too. There we go. And then I'm going to put this one down. Let me look at my sample here. Okay, I want it to be down and a little bit so that the U is kind of at the same angle as my edge of my die cut stitched rectangle, and I'm going to have it so that it's covering up, just covering up the stitching like that. And then I want all of my letters to be facing the same way, so it's important to adjust them and make sure that, because you could easily just lay it down and it would be all askew. You got to pay attention. And I want my T, I've got my J almost straight up and down, so I want my T also. That will be how I determine that it's straight. Make sure my J and my T are at the same angle. And then because it's laying on top of glimmer paper over here, I really want to make sure that that gets good contact. And then I can add the top of my J, which sometimes can be a bit fussy to find the right spot. And then the to say. So I chose not to use the want. And the reason I did that is because the die says just want to say. The reason I didn't use the want is just because it takes up more space and it's not necessary. So we can skip it all together for this card. There are lots of times when I have used the want, and because that worked on other cards to have the want, but this one I wanted to show off more of my pretty paper underneath. So again, struggling a little bit to get these out, but if you die cut them better than I did, then it'll come out a lot easier. All right, clean that up a bit. There we go. So the 2 is going to go kind of in line with the edge of my card as well. The T, sorry, not the 2, the T. The T of the 2. So it's going to keep that same angle going on, and I'm going to have it just barely covering up that stitching like that. And then we can lay down the last of our words and then do some stamping. This one is being extra special. Especially that S doesn't want to come out. So just be patient. It's just caught on the foam, I think, on my S. So I'm going to cut that, and then I can poke around with it better once it's out of the outline bit. Maybe if I can even, there we go. And it's very sticky. So it's sticking to me as I'm pulling it out. Sticky is good though. We want it to be sticky. There we go. Okay, now I can fuss with that S because I'm not sure which part is not wanting to release. Right there. My scissors are starting to get sticky. Ah! Oh my goodness, must be so painful to watch because it's pretty painful for me to be fussing with this in front of you. Okay, I think we've got that one. Just trim that a bit more. And we have to pop out the loop of the Y and the A. Try not to have everything stuck to my fingers. Trim off any little bits that are not where they should be. My scissors are sticky, so they're not really behaving themselves either. There, I think we've fixed our mess here. There we go. Whew, hopefully you have a smoother process than me on that one. And I think what happened was when I die cut these, I die cut them in 2 parts. So I had 2 pieces of paper, or 2 sheets with the adhesive sheets, the foam adhesive sheets underneath, and I die cut them separately. So I had one under the just and one under the to say, trying to save paper because I wasn't using the want. So I think it just die cut with uneven pressure. I think that's what happened. Because when I die cut the whole saying for my first card, when I was first designing this very first card, it did not, it released a lot better. So I think it was just that the pressure was just uneven. Okay, so this one, we want to make sure it's lined up with the 2. So you can either just eyeball it and lay it down, and then I have the part of the Y kind of in line with the stitching. And I like, the reason I do that is just to reduce how many lines are happening. There's a lot of lines, right? So if I have lines on top of where there already are cuts in color divisions, then it's less cutting up of everything. I don't know if that makes sense to you. Yeah, so another way, if you want to try to line it up, make sure it's straight, you could lay a piece of paper down to give you an idea of where it needs to be. And then again, keeping that Y going the same direction as the T and the J and the other T as much as you're able to. And then down it goes. Just to say, and then we're almost done. The last thing we need to do is use our strip of paper here and add a sentiment. This is a 1/2 inch piece of basic white that I started out with 1/2 inch. I started out with a 1/2 inch by 3 3/8 size piece of basic white. And then I took my Banners Pick-a-Punch from Stampin' Up, and I put my 1/2 inch piece in on the flagged end on the one side. So I flagged one end, and the other end I used the other punch, I don't know what you would call that, not flagged. It's the opposite of flagged, I don't know, just some other banner. So then you end up with that, but I wanted to add these little guys to the end, these little chevron guys. So to do that, I took my flagged end again and put it back in the flagged section all the way until it stops. I don't want to put too much pressure because I don't want to bend the ends that I already cut. So just till it touches, and then I'm going to do that 2 times. And then I have those little chevron pieces. Are they not the cutest? I think they're so cute. Okay, and then we can stamp our sentiment. And I chose to use the Congratulations stamp from the Art Gallery stamp set, and I have basic gray ink. Black ink would work, gray granite ink would work, and even any of these colors that are in your glimmer paper could work. But I do like, if I use a gray, like a neutral color, I feel like it allows those leaves to just pop a little bit more. The color makes it a little more of an impression. So I'm just going to stamp Congratulations. With that basic gray. And then I can attach that to my card. And I'm just going to use, for that, I'm just going to use my Tombow liquid glue. And I'm going to have it tuck under the T just a teeny tiny bit. Like I just want it to kind of, actually I put my T lower than my other card. I'm going to have it actually tuck under my T because I want a little bit of this stitching to show. So I'm going to have it right like that because my T is a little lower. Like that. And then I can add my 2 little chevron pieces with some more Tombow liquid glue. Oop, not that much more, that's too much. You don't need much. If it oozes out, it makes quite the mess. So keep it thin. Less is more. Little chevron pieces, they're so cute. There we go, and that adds a little bit of interest rather than just having a plain flag there. Now we have just something a little more interesting to look at. And there we go. This is a little bit crooked, but I used Tombow liquid glue, so guess what? I can move it a little bit. Still. Yay, there we go. And there's our completed card. And I have some other ones that I did. So this one, so they're all a little bit different with what colors are showing up. And this one here, I chose to do the colors in a gradient pattern. So it goes from that green and through the blues and into the purples. But the other two, I kind of actually like it muddled a bit. So that works nicely. So you can see that this one, the one that I just did, I put this a little bit lower than the other two. And they still all look great. So there you have it. That is the stitched rectangle window